The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
This podcast is for adults only, should not be used as a meal replacement, and may contain nuts.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Noobie and the Doobie. My name is Timmy. I am the Noobie.
Mary Jane, I am the Doobie.
We're very excited to have with us today on the spot Sheriann Baker, who we have been wanting to have with us for quite some time. We've even entrusted her with our phone to take pictures at an event because that's how good she is.
Around water, too.
Online. Everybody needs to follow Sheriann Baker, and if you're not, please do that. We'll give you more information about that later in the show. But Sheriann, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. You guys are awesome.
Yes, and if you're only listening to this in audio format, I say poo-poo to you because you cannot see the amazingness, and you'll hear the energy, but you won't get to see the energy that is Sheriann Baker. So
you guys are so awesome. That's why I love you.
Yes, it's actually one of my I mentioned this to you at Lyft, or sorry, not at Lyft, but at the Kind Summer Festival. But it is one of my favorite ways to start my morning. Is I go through my Instagram stories, and your face is always smiling and cheerful, and you're always doing your little dance with your doobie, and I'm like, what are you smoking today? It's a nice way to start the morning. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, today I'm smoking Saints. So far, one of the ones. That's about my favorite six.
So we're gonna get into your cannabis journey and everything that kind of impassions you throughout this. I mean, you're at so many events, you do so much online.
Yeah.
But I do want to hit before we even get to that. I mean, you are so incredibly active on social media.
Oh, yes.
It exhausted us, and it's why we took some time off.
Not your social media, social media.
Making social media. And
it's not consuming.
Yeah, and going to events and trying to enjoy the event, but trying to document the event, and then trying to make sure you're on top of all that posting stuff. And I tell people all the time, there's a reason why people pay other people to just do social media for them, because it's so much. You look like though you just get energized by it, and it's a passion of yours.
Yeah, I just love it. It's just a way of networking with people. That's how I look at it, right? So when I go to an event, I basically I just say my hellos or whatever. And sometimes just saying your hellos can be time consuming because so many people are there. Like with Kind, oh my gosh, it took you almost like an hour just to walk around that small little venue because there were so many of us there. And you just start talking and then you see somebody else and somebody else. So yeah, it's very time consuming. So basically, I go in and I try to get my hellos in really fast. And then I try to do my videoing and focus more on doing my being more creating and that sort of stuff. And then if there's time after, then I'll do more networking. But I'll tell you, it can take up easily 8 hours, easily. And you still can't get all your videotaping and you still can't see everybody, but you do. It's kind of important because like you said, I don't get paid for it. This is kind of like my hobby. This is kind of what I love to do. But it is very time consuming. It really is, but I love doing it.
It sounds like you must have some sort of plan though, because even like we get confused sometime just trying to look at our files and go, what have we posted? What haven't we posted? When are we going to post this?
No, it starts even before, like Sheriann was talking about it. It starts at the event. You can attest to this. We made it. We started on the left-hand side. We walked 20 steps and ran into somebody. Strictly hippie. Yeah. Then we walked another 5 steps and we ran into Chris Burns. Next thing you know, we're halfway down the thing. We're running into Shatterizer team. Now we're and like you're saying, now it's like 45 minutes and we've only made it around one small little L section. And I'm such the person that I'm in the moment and I'm having fun and I'm chatting and I'm, oh my God. And I'm Timmy goes, do you got your phone? And I'm like, oh yeah, a photo. We need to get a photo.
Right.
Because if you don't take a photo, it didn't happen.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And
then,
nowadays, for sure.
And that's just at the event. Like Timmy said, like, and then you get out of the event and you have, what do we have? Like 76 or something like that photo video things from Kind.
Yeah.
And I feel like an old person now. I made fun of my dad when he told me he had to check emails at work, and I probably shouldn't have done this because now I feel like it's coming back to haunt me.
Yes.
Because the files go from my phone and I can't get them to upload to my drive because my phone is maxed out on battery, and it keeps saying synchronization error.
Stressful. Oh, that's the really stressful part of it.
And then if you do manage to get this, they give you now this special piece with your phone that plugs in the bottom that you can plug a USB, like a whole memory stick in. And then I take it to the computer and I plug it in the computer, and I'm so excited to see them. And now I'm like, oh, got to put them in this app to make it a video or to make it a photo. And now I've like Timmy said, I'm so stressed.
It's
So
then you got to tag people. So literally after Kind, I would, so the first night I was at Kind, let me just, first of all, Kind was, I'm going to say, was the most absolutely amazing, best event that I've been to in the last 3 years since of COVID. Was absolutely spectacular. So I don't know if that's what took so long to get around. It was because you couldn't, I was going to say, it took you that long to see people. My God, I would just turn around and be like, somebody else.
Yeah.
It was just, you couldn't get away from people. But that was a great part of it, right? Like, it was just, everybody was just so loving and hugging, and it was like a big hippie fest, and I just loved it. But the first night, it literally took me, and I was there for opening at 3:00 till 9:00 the first day, to actually be able to actually even relax and say hello to anybody, because it was just so busy networking and taking videos, and it was just, and then of course I was exhausted. So then of course I live right downtown, so I walk home, and then of course, I'm so excited. I got this adrenaline going. I'm like, okay, only one video. And then of course, I'm up there till 4 a.m. And then sometimes just tagging people takes hours. Right. Yeah. And then, like you said, and then it decides whether your phone wants to upload or if Instagram wants to screw around with you and not tag. It's a very time consuming. So I do have a plan, and it eventually, hopefully, it's just to get out there more and hopefully have more sponsors. I need sponsors now. It's been 6 years that I've been doing this, and I've been doing this on my own with absolutely no help from anybody. And I haven't asked for help because I didn't know how the heck this works. But I see a lot of people that are doing really well on it, and I need to figure it out. And I'm going to, because I love doing that.
It's funny that you say that, because there's people like us who are looking at you going, oh, that person's figured it out. We got to figure out what they're doing. So it's encouraging to know that even you haven't figured it out. What would, though, because as a comedian, I'm
and a very poor marketer, I must add.
Performing professionally since 2009. I have always been on the stage, doing my own marketing, doing my own, agent work. Everything's like myself. There's one-man show. There's so many people in this industry too that are doing podcasts, doing influencer work, whatever it may be, running a business, and they're struggling. I know you haven't figured it all out, but I know we're not the only ones who think that you do a very, very, very well. What would be a couple tips that you could share with everyone else who's going, how in the world do I do this better? What were a couple things that you've learned that you're like, this helped me a lot?
You just got to network. That's really the biggest thing. You got to be out there. Like, I don't know though. I mean, it's funny you say that, because the other day I was thinking about that, and there are some influencers that I see on social media that have a lot more followers on Instagram than I do, but they're hardly at the events. So I'm like, what are we doing? Like, what am I not doing right? Like, I don't get it. Right. But I'll tell you, like, when I'm at the events, I am recognized. Like, it's overwhelming. Like, oopsie. Even when I was at Kind, I had people, and I at all the events coming up to me, and it's the funniest thing because I don't know how celebrities do it, but yeah, people come up to me and they're like, "Oh my God, Sheriann, how are you?" So then first thing I'll do is I'm looking at them. Okay, do I know them or do I not know them? And then thankfully most of them will say, "You don't know me, I follow you." So then I'll be like, "Phew!" Otherwise, like I have no idea who this person is, right? But they're so awesome. Like everybody is just so awesome, and it makes me kind of feel funny, like, you know what I mean? Because I don't think I'm any different than anybody else, and it doesn't matter. I never will be. Like in social media world, I do got about, I don't know, about 15,000 followers. Twitter was actually my biggest platform. Twitter, that's one of the ones I got to say. Twitter was my biggest platform. It didn't take long to get like 5,000 Twitter followers, like at all. And then somebody introduced me to Instagram, and then that's it. I've been on Instagram like big time. Facebook, not so much, but yeah, I would just say, just get out there, do your networking, talk to people. You know, I'm not going to say like offer your free services, but sometimes you got to do that in every sort of job, even jobs that you get paid at. You always got to show that you're a team player and that you're willing to learn every job and every department to kind of get your nose in there. But that's what I'm doing. And I find it starting to work, because I did actually have 2 or 3 people that came up to me and wanted to go further. So things are starting finally after 6 years.
It's patience. It's just patience, right? And it's also
I'm getting the recognition, and I'm finally, people are starting to take me more seriously. So.
Well, I think
we got to figure out how to get the money, guys. We all got to figure out how to get the money.
That's what we're all trying to figure out. Yeah,
it's so funny because
I get lots of loot. I have a whole table full of stuff. Right?
You're like, now if I could just turn that into monetary.
Yes. But you know, and in all fairness to the cannabis companies out there, we do know you have a marketing funds. You have, just like any company, you know, you have this money. So if us influencers out there and us comedians and us people are like going out of our way to promote your events, and you see us at all the events, and you see us, there's a group of us. We're always out at you need to start recognizing us, and you need to start somehow, what's the word I'm looking for, guys? Compensate.
Yes.
Compensate.
I think the real problem lies within, and I say this all the time, Timmy can attest to it, it's the rules and the regulations that need to be addressed around cannabis marketing. So that way it can allow for more. Like, I don't know, you mentioned Twitter, and I was like, was on Twitter, because I just recently heard that Twitter has now changed their cannabis advertising policies to include not just brand awareness, because before, like, you could just say, you know, whatever cannabis brand, X cannabis brand. I don't want to promote anybody because, like you said, no compensation. So X cannabis brand is able to talk about their product now, rather than just saying, come and check out our store. Right. So it's things are slowly changing. Timmy says baby steps, and, you know, we're moving in the right direction. But I agree with you. We need to start pushing, and we need to say, you know, like, we deserve a space too. And I think Kind and people like Kind Lift as well. They're trying to do what a lot of people, they're doing better what other people have tried to do for years, and that's bring the legal and the legacy together.
Yes. And apparently, well, what you know what, I've seen a little bit of separation, not as much as others have, but the Kind was great. It was just like, we were like this, like there was so much love between everybody. And I think that's the way it should be. That's the way I've always felt like, because before I came to Ontario, I didn't know about all the legacy and all that, how it worked, because in Alberta it's totally completely different, right? And so I've been learning, but when I first came here, I could definitely see it's like, you buy legal, and then it's like, what? I'm about cannabis. I don't know what you guys are talking about. So I had to, like, nobody gave me a book on how to learn all this. I would go to the events, and that's how I was slowly starting to learn. And I'm very I'm just kind of one of those girls. I don't like to ask a lot of questions. I don't like to look dumb. So sometimes I am dumb, because I just kind of figure stuff out and I ask really stupid questions. But that's how you learn, right? But that's how I've been noticing is in the last year, for sure, we've really started coming more together. And I think now, and I've heard this a lot from us influencers and us people who are out there supporting these wonderful cannabis companies, that they're not feeling compensated. There's a whole bunch of us, wink, wink. So I think they need to start compensating us or looking at us and changing the rules to include us more and to compensate us, because we do bring in a lot of people as they see. Like, I know a lot of people go to the shows to see you guys. I know a lot of people go to the shows to see a lot of us, and and a lot of us are starting to get discouraged. So we just gotta.
It's a fine line, though, right? Because when you continue to promote on your own and you do it well, then I'm not saying all companies do this, but there's certainly some that would go, well, why would we compensate? Because you're already promoting for us.
For free. Well, that's it.
So it's a difficult line, because we want to be supportive, we want to promote, but we also need to kind of go, wait a minute, maybe because we've actually
discussed this with other people, with like when you go to events.
Right.
We support other companies, podcasters, influencers, but when we go to events, we want to wear our brand stuff because we're trying to promote us. Like, for example, you're wearing a shirt that is promoting a company. Right. Yeah. And this is, you're not getting compensated for this. No, you're doing it because you like the product. Yeah. Right. And I think they need to recognize there is brand recognition, and that, hey, this product is a great product. I love, I'm like looking because I normally have one close by. It's a medtainer. It's a grinder. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen them. It's airtight, waterproof, storage container, grinder on the bottom. I have never earned $1, not even a penny from that company. Yeah, me neither. I don't have pennies anymore. Oh yeah, we don't have pennies. But I love that company. I love the product. I'll talk about it all day, every day. But I'm also weary about taking on endorsements and stuff like that, because especially when it comes to product testing, what if you're paying me to test a product, what you're paying me for is the testing of the product. What you're not paying me for is an unbiased opinion. Right. Because I'm going to give you my opinion, my true 100% opinion on whatever you're giving me, because I don't believe in false advertisement. I agree. So that's where I'm like, I would be willing to deal with that sort of thing when it comes to like products, whether it be grinders or anything, like even non-cannabis related. It's got to be, it's got to be truthful.
Absolutely. I agree. Like, I've had actually, I won't do any sort of review or any sort of a product on a shitty product. Absolutely not. Yeah. No way. No way. I've actually had people who have given me Rick Simpson oil that I didn't find was very good product or good quality. And no, I won't give my shout out. Absolutely not, because I'm not going to endorse something that's a shitty product. No, I'm not putting my face behind it.
Because that puts your, like, honestly, and I say this, especially in the cannabis industry, when your career, everything rides on your reputation, it is not worth doing anything that is going to affect that. Like, I like to believe I'm a pretty decent person, so I'm not going to go around like you're not going to hear, oh, MJ beat an animal or some crap like that, because that's never going to happen.
That's why people like you, because they can trust you and they can believe in what you're talking about, right? And they enjoy they enjoy what you talk about, right? Because what if
you endorse that RSO, and then next thing you know, somebody gets really sick off of it because it was subpar product, and you're just like, I don't want to be responsible with that. So good for you also for taking that same.
Absolutely not. No, for absolutely not. I actually have to even block the guy. I mean, I've actually had people who have tried to attach their Rick Simpson oil to my name, and it's like, first of all, I've had 1 gram. First of all, I'm not even going to know what 1 gram's going to do. Like, I take 1 gram a day. So like, you know what I mean? So no, you, and I know, and you're not, I'm not endorsing it. I'm not putting my name on it. So get my face and my name off of your product, right? Like, I get it a lot. I get that a lot.
I believe that, because I was like, I don't want to get too much into, I'll just say this. I believe that because of who you are and what you're advocating
Yeah.
for, and
Right.
what
And people are
happened to you,
desperate.
and
It's
people are
easy.
taking advantage of
Yeah.
that.
For sure.
But
Yeah.
but I'm like, before we get into that story, can I ask her the question?
Well, yeah, I was gonna. Well,
You have something else first. Go ahead.
no, it leads into that.
Oh.
The
Sure.
whole everything that we've set up to this point just reveals for you to do what you've been doing. Clearly, you are investing a lot of time.
Yep.
Clearly, you are investing a lot of your heart
Mhm.
and
Right.
energy into this, which
Mhm.
leads ultimately to the question of why, which ultimately leads to what MJ's question is, because you are clearly wanting to talk about cannabis.
Well, yes.
Right.
Oh, I see the discussion on cannabis.
Well, no, what her journey is.
Well, I don't know
Yeah.
if this led to your journey. So my question always stems with, or
It
starts
did.
with, your very, very first time using cannabis in any form. So whether it's smoking, eating, whatever.
Sorry, I'm right downtown.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
I was 11.
Okay.
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 All
I was
right.
11, and my sister, me and my sister have never gotten along, and she thought that she'd fuck me up and get me high, and that I'd be all screwed up and do really
Is
stupid
she,
things.
she's got to be the older sister. Yeah.
She was, yeah, she's 3 years
Yeah.
older, and she did do it, and she hooked me, and I smoked the whole joint. I loved it, and I never stopped.
Was
So I think
And then you guys started getting along because you both were
No.
like, hey, we're not so
no,
bad.
no,
Oh.
no. She only did it to try and get me in trouble. I think she thought my parents would figure it out that I was high at 11, but no, they never figured it out. But thanks.
She was probably
thanks,
more pissed off about that. She was
right?
like, fuck.
and would
Yeah,
you
she was. I
Would
think
you-
I think her and her friend like had one puff. I think that was the whole plan, was get Sheriann really screwed up, get her in trouble. And so,
it
I smoked the
backfired.
whole
Now
thing.
look at you.
Yeah, my parents
Now
taught me
look at
not to waste, right? So I smoked the whole thing, and we had 5.5 acres, and I still remember this. I have such a great memory, and I still remember this. I got on my little Honda 90 after that and drove around on my 5 acres, all buzzed out, thinking, "Wow, this is life!" Like even at 11 years old, I knew how great it was. Seriously.
would you
That's
have
crazy.
gotten in a lot of trouble? Was your family against weed? Was it a anti cannabis home?
I don't think, not too sure. My dad, my parents were alcoholics.
Okay.
So yeah. I don't know. I don't know. They were hippies. I mean, they were into Elton John and all that. So, there must be a fire. Felt
It's a
to the
good thing you
outdoors.
tested those alarms this morning in your building.
It's a good thing cannabis is legal now, because in the past you would have been running for cover going, are they looking for me?
No, I never did. I never ran. But yeah, no, I've always loved it. And I always had a lot of anxiety, even as a little girl, and suffered from migraines as a little girl. So I don't know if all of that came into play, and that's why I loved it so much. And maybe having parents that were alcoholics, it maybe kind of took me away a little bit from that. Maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
Do you feel, we talk a lot about consuming with purpose?
Mhm.
Do you feel that even at a young age, there was a sense that it was medicine for anxiety, or was it simply a recreational enjoyment?
No, absolutely. Let's put it this way. I remember being 19, 18, and I'd be all stressed out. My mom would go, "Sheriann, go smoke a joint," and she knew it because it would calm me down.
Right.
I've been allowed to smoke pot in my house since I was 13, 14, in my mom's house, not my dad's house. My dad would kick my ass. My mom, anything went. My mom smoked pot. My mom knew.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then as you got older, did you narrow down at all the intention behind it? Did you kind of go, wait, this is also helping with this and this, and if I smoke this strain and this dose, it will help me with this? Or like, how did that process of growth happen?
Well, you know what? No, it was just had to be cannabis. Didn't matter if it was sativa, indica, hybrid. It just had to be cannabis. It was that.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know,
always
it wasn't.
smoking?
It was the sativa, the indica doesn't. I've never noticed a difference of the highs, the lows, the couch. You know what I mean? I just
Same.
love the high. I
Yeah.
just the high. You know, as soon as it's just the high. I just love being in that place. Do you know what I'm saying? And I don't know, maybe like I said, having parents that were alcoholics and seeing how stupid they were, and knowing that you can have so much fun but not be stupid and not feel like shit the next day, and not
the
and
hangover.
remembering what you've done, and you know what I mean? And yeah, I remember and I did this once. I remember my mom, I guess I was like 18 at the time, and my mom was a bad drunk. Okay, she was a mean drunk, and yeah, all my friends knew, because she'd even show up in the bars in Toronto, and oh my God. Anyway, she was a mean drunk. This one night she was really mean, so it was like, okay, well let's talk her into smoking a joint, because we knew as soon as we could get her to smoke a joint, it just took her down, brought her boom right on the couch. That was it. 90 nights, mommy, and that's what it was. We just had to get her to have that puff, and we did. As soon as we got her to have that puff, she would just mellow out and she would go to bed. She wasn't a belligerent, mean person. So I saw it from a very young age, the effects. My auntie, thank God, my auntie Dar was a hippie. Did she introduce me? No, my sister introduced me to the pot, but my auntie Darlene was very, you know, she gave it to me as a young, you know, I was 17 or whatever, and she'd give me bags of it. And but she also knew that my parents were alcoholics, and she wasn't. So we kind of saw the different effects, right? Like that different highs between stupidity high, right? Drinking alcohol, ruining your life, because that's what it did to my parents. Like the alcohol ruined my parents' life, both of theirs. And the weed, you know, I'm still here, right? Like, and yeah, you don't make stupid decisions. You don't go you don't go smoke a big fat joint, go, I think I'm going to go rob a bank today. You just don't do that. Right. So yeah, I wish my parents would have been more pot smokers and would have got away from the alcoholism, you know, back then.
It's sad because I grew up, you know, we talk a lot about the fact of my background growing up in the church, pretty much being born in the pew of an evangelical Baptist church, and not hearing much about cannabis. But as I got older, of course, knowing that it was there and getting to a place where I was preaching against it, because everything that you're saying there, the stigma is still attached to that. People don't make that distinction. Nobody really kind of sits down and goes, when was the last time that you saw, you know, people smoking weed, you know, beating up somebody in the park,
right?
And compared to when was the last time you heard about somebody who was drunk causing some damage? And
so I just want to say a phrase my grandma used to say all the time, is she said, do you know how you can tell when alcoholic or a bunch of teenagers that drink hang out on the hill? She says they leave all their garbage and shit lying around. She says, do you know what happens when a bunch of kids show up and smoke weed? She says, nothing. They're quiet. You might smell them. That's it. She says they leave nothing behind. They're
paranoid. So they're cleaning up after themselves. They're good.
They don't want to get busted.
Right? Yeah. That's the truth. That's the honest to God truth. It really is.
I've certainly seen it now, and it just baffles me that sort of
you've got to see it from the inside.
Yeah, it's like nobody even processed the difference. To me, drinking alcohol, which I was turned off by watching alcoholics do dumb things, and I didn't have another thing to go to. I just enjoyed going out and being that person who remembered everything that happened, and I was the life of the party. I always felt I was the life of the party and could enjoy the moment. I was never anxious in crowds. I just became the center of the attention. That's awesome. It energized me. So I didn't need anything to fuel that sort of either being able to be in it or not. But it's just, it's so weird to me, because when you look back on it logically, those connections aren't made. And yet I grew up in an environment that is no different than a lot of environments that are still around today, where people just equate heroin, drug, weed, alcohol, it's all the same. And it's like, it's
not. Weed's not a drug, first of all. Weed is not a drug, right?
It's a plant.
It's not a drug. So don't even put it in that category. We're a flower. We're a medicine, really. And thank God now it's starting to get out there more that we are a medicine and that we're helping for the anxiety and depression and to help alcoholics get off of alcohol. And there is so many more benefits for helping people with cancer. Like there's just so many more benefits to it. And people need to realize that it's not, it's great. It's great to get high. But there's just so many more benefits to the plant, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So much.
I think you touched on a very big one right there as part of your journey. Like I feel like it's a perfect segue to lead into why specifically you use RSO. Can you take us to the very beginning of like what happened? Because I've heard bits and pieces of the story, but I want to hear it right from you.
Can I just say for the newbies around, what's RSO?
Well, she said Rick Simpson oil.
Rick Simpson.
But I guess technically, if you don't know who Rick Simpson is.
Yeah, Rick Simpson.
Who's Rick?
Rick Simpson had skin cancer, and he actually came up with the formula, which is now called Rick Simpson oil, which is cannabis oil. He came up with the formula with the ibuprofen and the cannabis oil. And it's like a time consuming, takes like 8 hours to process it at boiling over a slow period of time because you got to boil all the alcohol out of there.
It's a dangerous process if you don't know what you're doing too.
Absolutely, yeah. It's very, yeah. It's.
I feel like I should add the warning for like back in the day when people used to blow up their places.
Yeah, I do it outside. I go to farms when I do it. I'm thank God. I have donors who have been donating it to me for the last 6 years, which is unbelievable. And they do it. They make the Rick Simpson oil out at their farms. But the one time I did it out on a farm. Where we were all walking around and watching it boil for the 8 hours because it's so time consuming, but it's worth it. It is absolutely worth it.
I just want to interject and say, if you don't know who Rick Simpson is and you want to know more information, you could go and Google "Run from the Cure," not for the cure, but from the cure. And I believe there's a number 2 as well that you can see. But they're both there. They're both free to watch. Go check that out and then come back here or check it out after. Either way.
Yes. And he's fantastic. Actually, he found me, I guess it was about 3 or 4 years ago. He found me on, I don't know whichever social media, but his people found me and he was really excited. So I should have the book here, but it's over there. But he sent me a signed copy of his book and told me how proud he was of me. And he knows that I tell people a little different than what his protocol is, but that's, I think it's different for every sort of cancer, right? Like he had skin cancer, I had brain cancer. So I think everyone, you got to experiment a little bit, right? But definitely I credit him to where I am today. Right. But he also got so what basically happened is I was at a parade in my hometown and I was getting up from my parade and I felt out of this world. That's the only way I can describe it. I can't say I felt high because I'm always high, but I felt out of this world. I almost felt like I was like looking down on myself. I don't know. It was just weird. And then I remember like looking around, kind of going, okay, that's kind of weird, but didn't want to think anything of it. And before you knew it, we started walking away from the parade because the parade was over. So as we were walking away, I put my left foot down, had no issues, put my right foot down. And it was like, there was no ground below me. It was like water. And then I remember just like looking down, like, okay, did I just step off the sidewalk? Like, why did it feel that way? But you're just walking so fast that your mind just stops and you keep walking. So then I walk back on my left foot again, no issues. Go to my right foot again. I couldn't find the solid ground. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And my girlfriend just so happened to be a nurse and she's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know, Lori. Like, she's like, well, should we go to the hospital? I'm like, no, no. Let's just go to my car and we'll see how I feel when we get to my car.
How old are you at this point?
This was in 2017. That's one of the parts of the brain cancer, my memory and my numbers. So it was 2017. So it was actually June 18th, 2017. So we keep walking we start walking again. And at this time, my legs are fine and I didn't fall. So I kind of knew in my mind just to kind of keep walking. So my main goal was just to get to my car and then get to her house to try to figure out what's going on. Mm-hmm. So we get to my car, but on the way to my car, I'm losing myself more. Like I'm just like, things are kind of like sounding weird. My surroundings are weird, but so I'm just moving. My goal is just to get to my car. So we get to my car, and I remember standing now at my driver's side and just standing there. And I'm waiting for my legs to sit me down in my car, but my legs aren't doing anything. And I'm sitting there kind of still waiting because like I'm cool, right? And I don't want to say anything to my girlfriend yet. And I'm high. Right. And I'm like not fucking sure what's going on. And I'm a little bit panicking.
Yeah.
So then she finally says, "What are you doing? Are you getting in the car?" And I went, "No, Lori, I'm paralyzed. I can't move." And she's like, "What?" I'm like, "I can't move." So she jumps out of my car and she comes right over to where I'm standing and grabs me and has to like force me, like literally walk me over to the passenger side. And then she's standing there waiting for me to sit down, realizes I can't sit down because I can't move. So she has to literally push me into the seat, lift my legs, everything, shut me in, lock me in, drive me down to the hospital. And I'm looking at her, right? And I have to even say to her, like, you know, "Do you want to speed up?" Like, it's funny because I knew she didn't want to speed in my car because I had a nice car. But at this point, I just wanted to speed up. And we weren't actually going to her house at this point. We were on the way to the hospital. So we got to the hospital. Thank God there was only one other person ahead of me. She let them know that they didn't look more important than I did, that I looked more important and I should be ahead of them. And I'm just like I'm just remember, I'm in a shell, right? I'm just in my body and I'm thinking, oh my God, how embarrassing. And then she leaves and I'm sitting there and then I remember a nurse came and that was it. And that was it. And then I woke up in the hospital and I had all these people around me and so it turns out I had a grand mal seizure for 8 minutes. At that point, when I woke up, they still didn't have an idea what was going on with me. They had figured I had a stroke either just that day when it happened, or I had a stroke a couple years prior because they found a lesion on my brain. But they didn't have an MRI, only a CAT scan. So that's all they knew. So they did know that, of course, when I woke up, I was only 16. And it's funny because Cranbrook is where I grew up. And I wasn't living there when I was at the parade. I was just visiting. So I kind of grew up where I left off 35 years ago. So, yeah, it was bizarre. I left there when I was 16 and woke up in the same hospital with the same boyfriend that I went back to after 30 years. So it was kind of bizarre. Right? So apparently I woke up, I was 16 years old. And then finally, I guess after time, right, I came to, and then I was back to being I was 46. So, so they, for 3 days, they're like, "Yeah, we think you had a stroke." Nobody could tell me why I was in there. I had a stroke. So finally I said, "You know what? Can I like just go back to Alberta and try to figure out what's going on with me?" Because I knew I didn't have a stroke. I knew it. In my heart, I knew it was not a stroke. And it was funny, guys, because let me tell you, an hour before I went to that parade, I had to get something out of my car. And I went out to my car. And as I was walking back to the house, I smelled burning toast. And I stopped. I stopped and I looked at the roof and I'm like
that commercial.
Right? And I'm like, I thought it was burning tar on the roof or something. Like I literally stopped in my trap going, what's that smell? So I'm like, okay, it's just to the roof or whatever. And then an hour later, I had a grand mal seizure. So the grand mal seizure is very bad. If you're not with anybody, most times you die with a grand mal seizure. You need to be with somebody. So, I was pretty fortunate that way. After 3 days, like I said, after being in there from Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, I said, you know what? Like, I don't know why I'm here, just laying in the bed. I'd rather go to Alberta, figure out what's going on. So that's where my journey started. And then I went back to Alberta and they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah. we'll get you in an MRI. It's going to take 2 months. So I had my grandma Caesar on June 18th and didn't even get to see a neurologist until the beginning of August. Sat down with him in 10 minutes. He goes, you have brain cancer. You have a brain tumor. He didn't even have to do an MRI. He goes, you have a brain tumor. And I went, I freaking knew that. I knew I had cancer. I knew it. There's no way everything that I've been through was just a stroke. And I knew it. And I knew that I was prepared after 2 months. You do a lot of thinking and reflecting. I'm very spiritual. The night before, actually, I got my results. It was so funny. We went out for dinner and we had Chinese food and we got the cookies. And my husband always throws me his cookies and I always switch them. So I made him read his first and then I read mine, and mine says, expect the unexpected. I said to him, I looked at him, I go, you know, I got cancer, right? And he goes, you don't fucking got cancer. Don't be dumb. I go, Scott, I'm just telling you, I got cancer. So, because when you go to work tomorrow, because you had to drive 4 hours back to BC to work, I said, when you go back to work tomorrow, I'm going to probably be calling you to let you know I got cancer. He's like, don't be stupid, blah, blah, blah. So when I called him the next day, I had to console him. Even my doctor, you guys. See, this is a part of I believe it was all kind of meant to be. Like, this is now I know why I had the migraines at 5 and 6 years old. This tumor, it was the size of a golf ball, you guys. The size of a golf ball. That sucker had been ticking in my brain since I was 6 years old. And not one doctor, I've seen probably 35 doctors, did one ever do an MRI on my brain. So what I suggest to anybody out there, if you really feel like it's that severe, you go walk into the hospital and you scream and cry until they do an MRI. Don't just go to your doctors. They just fluff you off. They just give you this, they give you that, they give you try this, try that. I was just an experiment. I was a guinea pig. And it turns out it was a golf ball sized tumor in my brain. Right. And so that's what I tell. And it's funny too, because for the last like 3 or 4 years prior, I get like these tremor things in my body. And I thought it was just old age. You know how you see people in older ages that are kind of shaking and stuff? I thought maybe I'm getting old, because I'm 54. So I thought, I was 46 at the time. But, people, you see that. So I just thought, sloughed it off. But now these are the signs. These are the signs for people. If you ever, like, it's the migraines, it's the blurry vision. I mean, I would vomit. Like when I would drink, after 2 or 3 drinks, I would vomit for 8 to 9 hours the day after, like so severely. I would be in a fetal position. My doctors knew. I was taking Tylenol with codeine, probably 20 a day. They diagnosed me with medicine-induced headaches. MIH is what it's called. Because I used to eat codeine so much because I would just be scared I was going to get a migraine. But it was a tumor. I haven't taken even an aspirin in 6 years or anything.
So at that moment, though, because obviously you hear you got cancer, it's freaky as anything. Everybody, is just like, well, what am I going to do? And the only thing that people drop in general, though, is, okay, I guess it's chemo now.
Yeah, you said you were prepared. No way. What were you prepared for? Like, you were prepared. What was the plan?
Okay. Yeah.
Obviously, they're coming at you, like Timmy says.
And they do. Oh my God, they see dollar signs. Hey, money. Oh my God, she's gonna redecorate my living room and my bedroom. I'm gonna get a new kitchen out of her. That's how they think. I see that in them, right? There's one specific doctor, specifically I fired at Princess Margaret's, got dollar signs all over. Anyway, you know what? I knew I had cancer. I really did. I have it in my family. I lost my auntie Dara at 46 to breast cancer. I've lost my other auntie, everybody, both my grandfathers. I knew it. I just didn't think I'm being the healthiest, probably baker ever in my family. Seriously, right. I've been working out every day in the gym since 1993. I was the most healthiest so for me to get sick, and I don't smoke, the rest of my family all smoke cigarettes. I don't smoke that shit. I only smoke the good shit. And it was really shocking. So when I got sick, it was a shocker to everybody. But yeah, so I was prepared mentally. So like literally, okay, so when the doctor told me, he's like, okay, Sheriann, gets up and he goes, I'm going to phone the hospital right now and I'm going to get you in for that MRI, because I still hadn't been able to get into the MRI just to see him. He's like, I'll get you in tomorrow. And he did. He's like, my day's off on Friday, but I want you to be here because I want to go over the results with you on Friday. So be here. So he was just absolutely amazing. So I did that, went to the hospital on Thursday. Just so you know, when you're in the MRI, you got a little window and you can look and you can see your technician, which I do watch them, and you can see their facial expressions. And I knew right then and there that, holy shit, I had a monster in my brain, because that technician was like, so yeah, I knew. And so I went there on the Friday and he's like, yeah, you have a monster in your brain. He showed me it's literally the size of a golf ball. And he said, so first place you're going to go right now is you're going to go to the drugstore and you're going to fill your prescription for Keppra, so you don't have another grand mal seizure on us, because that sucker is still in your brain. Remember, I've walking around since June 18th with that in my brain. And the doctor, like, they just fluffed me off. And so that's what he did. And then he said, and then I want you to go up to Foothills Hospital and I want you to go meet Dr. Kelly. He's going to be your neurosurgeon who's going to do your brain surgery, and he's going to do your brain surgery today. And it didn't happen that day. And that's when I started to realize I needed to take my health into my own hands, because I was just a guinea pig and I was just a number. I was literally up in the Calgary Foothill Hospital for 8 hours in a room. I was so bored. I was like a child. I had the heart monitors on my toes. Like, we were sitting there. My dogs were in the trucks. Even the nurses were so great. They're like, can we go feed your dogs? Can we go like take your dogs for a walk? Like, we feel terrible that they sent you up here and you've been sitting here for 8 hours, and they're like fucking you around. And they were. I had 3 different doctors tell me 3 different diagnoses. Well, we don't think it's terminal. Well, we don't think it's this. And well, we think it's terminal. Oh, we think you only have this. And it's like, can somebody just give me like a straight fucking answer? You know, seriously. So I ended up going home that day back to Lethbridge with the big old monster still in my brain. But thank God to one doctor that listened to me and gave me some, pills to help me so that I wouldn't have another grand mal seizure. But that's basically where my story started. And and then I knew right away they were going to want me to do chemo radiation. And I just got on the good old internet and I searched for alternative ways to fight cancer, and good old Rick Simpson came up.
Nice.
And it just so happens that the cannabis world, thank God to them, really, they're the ones that have saved me. They're the ones that I'm still here, really, the cannabis industry. Our family is the reason we're here. They just started networking me with everybody and sending me here and there, and here, Sherry, here's a syringe of Rick Simpson. Try this, try that, try this. And then it just so happens that somebody tells me a story about a friend of mine, Chris Weitzel from Kimberley. I grew up with him. We went to the same high school together. He had lung cancer. He got diagnosed about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years prior to me. Chris had lung cancer. I had brain cancer. Chris did the Rick Simpson oil. Chris did end up passing away, but when they did his autopsy, he didn't die from cancer. He died from the stint that they had put in him had shifted because he had lost so much weight, and it punctured his lung, and that's what killed him. When they did his autopsy, he was cancer-free because of the Rick Simpson oil. So that was it. That was it for me. I was like, don't even doctors. Trust me, you can ask them. They didn't even mention chemo radiation because I would get so angry. I would literally swear at them like they knew not to even talk about it. Absolutely not do it. Wouldn't even discuss it.
Yeah,
absolutely out of the question. No, this is what I was going to do. So basically, when I was diagnosed with, I'm going to try to say it, oligoglomia stage 2 brain cancer, terminal. I was told I had 5 to 10 years to live if I do chemo and radiation. If I don't do chemo and radiation, I'll be lucky to see 2 years. I said, well, I ain't doing chemo and radiation, because to me, this is my thinking. Why am I going to do chemo and radiation? First of all, I don't care. I don't want to lose my hair. I don't care. My doctor's like, it's only hair. I don't care. This is my doctor. He's bald. Okay. First of all, I'm a woman and I don't care. I don't care. Credit to those women that want to be bald, but I don't want to be bald. No. Yep. I have loved my hair my entire life. It's a part of me. It is part of me. So I would not leave my house probably before a year if I did chemo radiation, and I'd be sick. It kills you. That chemo radiation fries you. Do people not watch movies? Do people not do research? You know, people do more research on buying a car or a computer than they do on their own health. Right away, they just think, okay, the doctor's right. Got to do this. No.
Well, I think it's fear, right, Sheriann? It's fear. You know that in that moment, in that office, you're terrified.
I wasn't. I had to control my doctor. I didn't feel like I was dying. I still, to this day, I'm not, maybe it's because I'm not afraid to die, but I've never felt sick. It hurt. I had to have brain surgery to get that sucker removed. Now that hurt. But even so, like, I've had migraines my whole life. So other than that, I never really, I feel bad for other people who have suffered with other types of brain cancer or other cancers, but I haven't suffered. So to me, like, it was just like, wow, to me, it was almost like a shock, and I did a bit of a denial, but in the same token, it was like, okay, this is no different than COVID. It was pre-COVID though, but it was no different than anything. Let's take this on. And that's how I looked at it. I'm like, you know what? I ain't going anywhere yet. I'm still extremely healthy. I still worked out every day in the gym. You know what I mean? Like, and so that's what I looked at it like, fuck you. You don't know who you're fucking messing with. Like, you really don't. And I seriously, this is 6 years now. I'm still extremely healthy, but I changed my whole life. That day I changed my life. I changed my diet. No more sugars, carbs, fats, flours, or red meats. Basically, I went home and our entire fridge got thrown out. Because if you go to a health food store, you look at those boxes, there's no such thing as healthy food in a health food store. Anything in a can or a box is not healthy. You have to basically juice or your own food. Everything out of the ground is healthy. You know, I mean, they changed our food groups. Why do you think that?
Well, it's a shame that most people do what you said you do, and it's just very human, right? We respond to the problem. If we all, because we talk about healthy eating all the time here, and that process of, I'm about to, at the time of this taping, I'm a couple days away from my 50th birthday, and I've been on a journey the last 5 years to really
change your lifestyle.
Change my lifestyle. Before, I used to use the word decrepit. I don't want to be the decrepit one later on. Like, and I might still be that person, but I want to delay that. I don't want to, because by the time you wait for that moment, sometimes it's too late. And
absolutely,
that's the problem. Is most people
wait until too late.
Hurts and they go, oh, what is this? And now I can't do like half of my life anymore. And it takes
you're preventing yourself from getting sick. You're preventing yourself from getting old. And people need to start doing that when they're in their 20s. I've been working out since 1993. My brother-in-law used to call me fat all the time and used to make me feel really shitty about myself, where I was bulimic and anorexic, where I stuck my fingers down my throat and would barf. And then I realized, like, what the hell am I doing? And then I started working out and just learned about fitness and eating right. And that's the way to do it, right? I just learned, you know, I didn't have the proper education as a young person, right? And I just learned that really that's what it is. Just eating right, being healthy. It could change. I mean, even smoking, like I quit smoking. Oh gosh, I can't even remember. Oh God, 25 years ago, right? But I smoked for 25 years, you know? And then just one day, it was Carol Burnett's daughter, when she got diagnosed, believe it or not, diagnosed with cancer. I was like devastated. I'm like, oh my God, she's got all the money in the world and she still can't buy her health back, and she still can't live because of this. And so I don't know if maybe all those things came into play with my fight cancer all these years later, but I'm just like, fuck that. And I have the internet. People, get on the fucking internet and do your research. There is fucking life with cancer. You don't need to go and nuke yourself and start fucking doing chemo and radiation, listen to doctors and funding them Take care of your body. You can turn your life around, whether it's cancer, smoking cigarettes. You can add life. You can add life back to your life by living a healthy lifestyle. It's the government feeding us all this shitty foods. It's what's killing us. But you can stop that if you want to. If you want to. And I feel terrible because I go into Princess Margaret Hospital and I was really choked because I don't like to go in there. Shit. I don't like to go in there. I usually just read my MRIs online. But apparently I had to go in there by law. The last time they said I had to go in by law because I really choked. They're like, we have to actually physically see you. I'm like, do you think somebody just like lie and say like, you know, I'm on the UHL web? Like, they're just full of shit. They obviously just make money that I had to come in there and they had to make a couple grand on me going in there. And they made me sit for 45 minutes waiting for them. Anyway, I don't do that. They said for another 5 years.
Here's what I love the most about everything you said in that story is at the end of the whole process, the person that I see, not just here, but the person over the last few years that we've come to just adore and we really love the energy of, is you've got a passionate, happy, fulfilling life human being who, whether or not you had 2 years to live, 5 years to live, 10 years to live,
what's the point of crying about it?
You're just embracing now. You're embracing
Absolutely.
the life now. And
sorry.
Yeah. No,
I'm
I know you feel
about
free.
it. It's like I see people like, seriously, I go into Princess Margaret. It's so depressing. Like, they're sitting there and they're fucking eating chocolate bars. Like, so first of all, it makes me really annoyed. Princess Margaret Hospital and any other cancer hospital, you don't have a bowl of candy at your fucking reception desk for people. That causes cancer. So it really frustrates me. And they don't like me when I come in there because I'm very vocal. Like, when I leave, like, they don't like me in the waiting room because everybody always says, they'll look at me, right? I'll be in there and they'll be like, so what are you here for? And I'll go, I got brain cancer, terminal brain cancer. And they're like, well, why do you look so good? And I'll go, oh, cannabis oil. And they go, what? And then they'll ask about it. And then I'll hear them in the back after, like, they'll go in with the doctor. And then I'll hear them leaving as they're walking out. And I'll hear them asking the doctor about Rick Simpson. And then I can see the doctors all giving me the evil eye. Right. But it's like, you know what they ask? I got to tell them. I'm being honest with them. And I just tell people, you know what? Research it. Just go research it. See how many of us are still alive or how many of us have prolonged our lives. How many, like, I mean, come on. It's 6 years now. 6 years. They told me I'd be dead in 2 years. I'm still stable. I've done 17 going on 18 MRIs coming up in 3 more months. You know, and if I would have, I was told, this one guy told me, you know what? If I was told today I was criminal, I would go home and blow my head off. Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
Because
I guess that's how people.
I'm telling you, some people look at it like the end.
But so, they can, you know what? And you're right, because you know what? I've had people in my life too when they found out they were sick, and the same sort of thing. And me and my husband would look at each other and be like, "Oh my God," you know. So it's just a matter of time. But now I tell people, no, it's not true. It's not true. There is a life with cancer and cannabis and living a clean lifestyle and being positive. And even, you know, I mean, that's just how I live. That's how I live. Yeah. And I don't feel sick, and I haven't felt sick. And that's what I do now. I talk to people all around the world. I have people reach out to me all around the world, and I just tell them what I do. I tell them I'm not God. I can't guarantee them anything, but this is what I did, and this is what's worked for me. And I've had so many great people that have helped me, supported me. I had Chris Cornell, Vicki Cornell was first person that paid for my first dosage of Rick Simpson oil. So, and to this day, actually, we're still friends. I've had Peter Frampton reach out to me, Jim Belushi reach out to me, all cannabis people, because they know. We know, and because we know, we all know somebody who's used it and where it's helped us and benefited us. I helped one of my neighbors who's in a wheelchair. I brought him some cannabis pills, and they're actually supposed to help for pain. And I gave them to him yesterday, and he said they actually worked. He goes, I didn't get really high on them. I said, well, you're not supposed to get high on them. They're more CBD than THC. I go, but did they help? He goes, absolutely. I go, well, there you go. And so that's what I do now. I try to help other people around the world and give them some hope. And I have people reach out to me all the time that tell me that I give them hope and that they are afraid, and when they listen to their doctors, like they don't want to listen to their doctors, and I give them the encouragement to actually tell their doctors, nope, that's not what I want to do. I want to try alternative. This is what I've been reading about. And that's what I tell people. Just talk to people, talk to a lot of people like me, talk to real people that do it. And that will help you, guide you, whether this is for you or not for you. But
yeah,
I'm not ready to go. Are you kidding me?
Well, the conversation needs to be had. And one of the reasons why we wanted to start doing interviews on the show is because I think one of the biggest things that can break down the stigma, and one of the best teaching tools, is hearing personal stories. And like you said, it's like your personal story. It's not going to be the journey for everybody. In fact, we've talked a lot about the personalization of cannabis. Like not every strain, not every dosage, not every method works for every individual.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the more stories you hear, the more you have a chance to figure out, where do I fit in this?
I'm like, and I feel like I need to interject, because this is where it gets tricky when talking about cannabis and doing podcasting. And this was one of my fears that I discussed in my early season 1 of the podcast, is that we make no medical claims because we are not doctors. And that goes, I'm sure, for Sheriann.
I just play one in the bedroom.
Yep. That is true. But it's one of those things that this is why Timmy said, like, yes, we need to do the podcast. And he's 100% right, because it's not that cannabis cures cancer. And Sheriann didn't even say that. She said she used cannabis oil as a tool in conjunction with healthy eating, healthy exercise, healthy lifestyle. It was just one of many tools that was used together, and that cannabis should be an option. And I will say, I'm pretty sure, because I have a friend just like you who was diagnosed with cancer and basically told his doctor, fuck off, I'm not doing chemo or radiation. Told me that, did you know that if a baby, a diaper wearing baby, has to endure chemo or radiation for any sort of reason because they have cancer, you are given special instructions on how to launder this child, because the secretions of the baby's pee and poo is actually toxic and can harm you.
It is. Yeah.
So
isn't that lovely?
That doesn't say something
isn't
about,
that lovely?
Like,
and this is
I'm sure it might work. Some people have, like, there are people that have had success with chemo and radiation.
It's about getting the education and people.
Absolutely. Given the option.
People aren't talking about this as an option.
Have the discussion.
Yes.
Raise the bar, have the discussion, and break the stigma against cannabis.
Absolutely. And when I had my brain surgery, just so you know, I had my brain surgery at Foothills Hospital in Calgary. I made, and of course I let all my doctors, made them very aware of what was going on. My family doctor in Lethbridge told me, don't waste your money. I said, don't bother. I'm not asking for your advice. I'm telling you, as my physician, this is what I'm doing. Yeah. So when I was told, after my brain surgery, I had my brain surgery at the Foothills Hospital, they were able to remove 97% of my tumor. I did my follow-up 3 months later, and that 3% was gone. So the RSO took that 3%, or an alien did, whichever you decide. They had told me when I went in there and told them I was doing the Rick Simpson oil, they worked with me there at Foothills Hospital. They were awesome. They said they were excited to work with me because I was doing the Rick Simpson oil, because they had seen so many positive stories coming through the Calgary Hospital with people doing cannabis oil fighting cancer. So that even made me even more happier. When I went in to have my surgery, I told them, look, when you go in, if my tumor had shrunk a considerable amount, I don't even want the brain surgery, hold off on it. So when I seen them start to do it, a little tear rolled down my eye, but then I was out. But I found out after I had my brain surgery that my tumor, when they did actually went in on October 3rd, 2017, that they had already noticed that my tumor was already shrinking. But no, of course, being so big, they chose to go after it. And like I said, I had an amazing surgeon. He was able to do my surgery. It took 6.5 hours. They cut my head open like this and like a flap, and they opened it. got her out. I do have, just so you know, I do have short-term memory, a little bit of short-term memory loss, math skills. So I lost them, but it's what calculators are for. I'm still alive. Yeah, woohoo. So those little side effects were worth it. I woke up like, shortly after surgery, feeling great. The only problem was my hands were like this. So took about 3 months before I could actually work my hands to do this. But I was out of the hospital. They woke me up, walked me around the ward within like hours of waking me up. They were like shocked. They were like, we have patients in here for like minor surgery that haven't been able to walk like you. And you just had your surgery like hours ago. And then they made the decision that they kicked me out of the hospital in 26 hours because they needed the beds for people who needed it. And clearly I didn't need it. So yeah, they sent me home with 22 staples in my brain, or on my head, I should say. Yeah. And with Keppra so I didn't have another seizure. And back then even they were already starting to control Tylenol. So basically I had to just take a couple Tylenols and just deal with the pain. And I didn't want to take any medicines but cannabis. So within 4 or 5 days, I totally weaned myself off of Keppra. Or sorry, not Keppra. They gave me steroids for the pain. Terrible drug, absolute worst drug, makes you just feel awful. I stopped taking it and I just suffered the pain, and it was well worth it than feeling like crap. But I was in the gym in 2 weeks. I was driving my car probably in 4 weeks. I left my husband 2 weeks after brain surgery because things weren't working out. And that's when, my life completely changed for the better. And on January 3rd, I drove to Calgary, and that's when I found out that my 3% was gone. And I chose to move back to Toronto. I packed up my 2 cats and my dog and my car, and I drove from Alberta to Toronto in 3 days. And here I am. And I've had the best 6 years of my life. So
the most amazing thing
and cannabis.
The most amazing thing about your story, Sheriann, is that if you weren't going around being so vocal about your story and about how cannabis changed your life, I wouldn't know that you had what was it? Terminal stage 2 brain cancer. I would not know that.
I know. I've been called out. People call me out. Like sometimes on the subways and stuff, I sometimes need to sit, and I'll play the little disabled card once in a while on there, but sometimes right. But they'll look at me like, fuck you, you're not disabled. Fuck you, you know what I mean? And and then it sucks. Like I've actually had people at the very beginning of my journey, actually, because I've talked about it right from the get-go because I think it's important. Like, a lot of people are really embarrassed to talk about having cancer because of the stigma of that we're looking for sympathy. Well, this girl ain't looking for fucking sympathy. I'm sorry. I'm here to tell other people.
To change minds.
I'm trying to educate people. Like, this, maybe it's not for you, but it's working for me, man. And if this is the way, if you're determined to keep living, this is what's working for me. So, and I know a lot of other people it's working for. So, read up on it and give it a shot. I mean, I had nothing to lose, right? I was like a guinea pig. I'm like, okay, well, I got nothing to lose and I don't feel sick. So this is what I'm going to do. And I'm sure glad I took that chance because look at me now, right? Yeah. And now I'm helping so many other people who are doing this and who are thriving and,
we're happy. You took a chance and decided to do it because you really are changing.
You're definitely you're helping others. You're always a bright light at the events we've been to. Like MJ's even said she enjoys just starting her day off by seeing you out there just
smiling
spreading
face. Yeah,
that's so
awesome.
The
joy and the joy of life is evident. Before we close off here, what I love most about you, and what I want you to start processing right now is kind of what would be your final words. But in the process of you talking about your own journey and in the process of you wanting to educate people and encourage people and inspire people, you're so involved in the giving back as well. Like as you're telling your story, these are the little things that impress me about certain people, is that you took the time to take our picture from Lyft and have it in there as a way to promote and to show us, well, you're the one that we brought on to talk to. And that's what I love about you, is because there are some people who just kind of, you know, they're just kind of sell their wares. They're just trying to get their stuff out. But you do this.
Giving back.
You give back, and we know that as much as we're trying to give you a platform here to promote you, you do those little things like, oh, wait a minute, I got their card back here. I'm going to have it up in the background in case anybody sees it. And to me, that's what makes you incredibly special and unique in an industry, I think, that needs more of you, that more collaboration and more of going, you know what, I want to promote me, but I also want to promote you.
And I think that's what it's also to be about. That's what I struggle with when I see these people that are very selfish and they don't, you know, that's what it's all about. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a lot of you guys, right? And that's how I feel, right? So it's all about giving back. And you see the ones that are popular right now and that, but you know what? Some of them are sort and shallow and very self-centered. And people might not see that at the beginning, but eventually they will. And I'm just all about, you know, like I said, I've had nothing but people wanting to help me for the last 6 years. So why wouldn't I give back and help these poor people who are sick with cancer like me? But even though I don't feel sick, so don't feel sorry for me, right? Like, don't, right? Like, you know, I just want other people, you know, like, yeah, I just don't get it. Like, I think, like, for the cannabis industry, we're all in it together. I don't care what you do. Like, it's like a company. We should all learn each other's department because we're all a family. So when I see these other people kind of being like, I'm a little better than you, I just like, whatever. I just kind of fluff my way away from them, because at the end of the day, they're not team players, and I don't want to be around those type of people. I want to be around people like you guys, and like the you know, like the disciplined stoners, and they're just loving, and you guys have all embraced me, and we're all like a family. You guys include everybody, and that's what I like. You guys don't exclude, you include, you don't exclude. And that's what I'm about, and that's what I've always been about ever since a little girl. I was a tomboy. Trust me, you know, I'm heterosexual, but I've always been that type of girl where I was always included everybody, and I never liked it when people picked on the underdog. I'm that person that will beat up the person that beats up the underdog. Just like we're all here for a reason. We all have a story, and we should all celebrate individual stories. And if, like, we're in the cannabis industry, we should all just be grateful that we're in the industry, and we should all celebrate each other for what we do and not push each other out. And if you want to do that, get the hell out. You don't belong. But that's my story. That's
as good a final words.
We need to take that sound, but that was beautiful. I always talk about the wall, you know, the wall that everybody's trying to climb up and get over.
Yeah.
There's different types of people. There are people that will get down and help other people over the wall. There are other people that will say, you know, I'll get up to the top, and they'll stand there and they'll pull other people up. And then there's the people that just, they'll take advantage and climb over people and go over the wall. And then even worse, those are the people I cannot stand. The ones that go, where's the stairs?
Right.
I'm like, those are the people I don't even want to be around. The ones that won't even attempt to play the game. Let's play the game and all get over the wall, you know?
Absolutely. Isn't that what it's all? I think about this world. If the world was to ever come to an end, that's what scares me right now in this world, is everybody's so selfish. And it's like, what if that ever happened? Like, we all need to fucking be together. We all need to stick together and help each other. This is what the world's about. We need more love and compassion, and we need to be more of a unit. We need to stop fighting each other. We need a little bit more love, a little bit more flower.
I like it. Can we all just get a bong?
Sheriann, look, we mentioned at the beginning that we've wanted you on here a long time. That was our error in not having you on sooner. You are an incredible human being. You bring so much light. I've told people I plan on living to 140. I hope that you live that long, if not more, so that we can, I'll invite you to my 140th birthday,
Oh my God.
and we'll celebrate together.
I'll be 100.
That's a lot of Botox, man.
That's a lot of RSO.
Mark it on the calendar, everybody.
Yes.
Sheriann, we can't thank you enough for being on the show and taking
Thank you very
time out.
much.
Thank you.
We can
Thank you.
We can keep thanking you.
Thank you.
But now we want to release you because you
have lots of work to do. You do.
You have way more people to connect with and to share your love and your story with. So we're gonna let you go do and enjoy life today.
Living with cancer, not dying from it. Living with cancer. That's what you want to.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And cannabis.
Yes, there is a life with cancer and cannabis. A good goddamn life too, just saying.
Love it.
Sheriann, where can people find you? Let's make sure that they know how to connect with you.
I'm nice and easy. I just go by my name, Sheriann Baker. So I'm on all social platforms under Sheriann Baker. The only one that you got to do the underscore on the end is good old Instagram, because they shadow banned me. But apparently you haven't made it unless you shadow banned. So thanks, Instagram.
I love that.
Sheriann Baker, everybody. Like, seriously, she is a must follow. And here's the thing, don't worry about your numbers growing, because they will grow. But what's clear about you, and we've even seen it in ours, because sometimes we get discouraged about how low our numbers are. But what we're finding is it's not about the quantity of numbers, it's about the quality. And that group of people that you have, if it's a quality group and they're not spammers and they're not just people who are linking on because they want to like increase their own thing. It looks like what you've done is you've built a community of quality followers. That's what we want to is even if the number's small, we want to have people that are engaged and actually want to be here. And your numbers will continue to grow, because I think more and more people will want to be with you. Sheriann, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, guys. You guys are so awesome. I can't wait to see you guys again soon.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.